it's going to be a good meeting, by the way. Good news, lots of good news, and good things.
Oh, I
Good
think
feelings, good feelings. Yeah.
okay. So, do you need to say okay to the live stream?
Good. It's going to be a good meeting, by the way. Good news. All right. We're live on YouTube.
Okay, super. It is August the 6th at 10 a.m. and I'm calling to order this meeting of the Isla Vista Community Services District Finance Committee. The meeting is being recorded, and I am Carrie Topliff, chair of the committee, and I'm here with Catherine Carmer. Yes, it's also on the committee. That suffices. Roll call.
You got it. Yep.
Okay, before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Anascoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Now we're going to enter the public comment period. At this time, if any member of the public can speak on matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Finance Committee that are not on the agenda. The committee will not take any action on any item not on the agenda except as provided by law. Do we have any public comments?
No, it's just
All
us.
I will move along to section 3.1 of the discussion and action items, fiscal year 2025-2026 year-end financial review.
Okay, let me get my share screen going. And yeah, I want to thank Sydney for putting this together. It's like I think I've like broken record at this point saying this, but the financial system from the county that we have, the new one, it just makes it really hard to do these reviews like the same way they used to be. So it's like screenshots and stuff. We'll figure it out. I mean, I don't think we're the only ones dealing with this situation, but anyways, made do with what we had. And yeah, thank you, Sydney, for compiling. So this is the good news. I mean, it's all good news, but this is particularly good news. Revenue. Well, this is the top line numbers. And the top line, the big summary of the end of the year financials is that we only drew 48,000 from our fund balance in terms of a deficit. We had originally planned you all to draw 149,000. So we reduced our deficit by 100K, essentially. So we have a cushion. We have more cushion for the future. Or, you know, you'll see in this year's budget, we were like thinking an $80,000 to $100,000 deficit. So that's now covered by the money that we saved from last year, essentially, if you want to think of it that way. In terms of revenue, yeah, taxes came in 80K over planned, which is good because we were actually being the most liberal with our tax projections, right? Like you guys remember, like we used to be very, 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 very conservative with our projections for tax revenue. And then this year we decided to like be a little more realistic, not even liberal, but like, oh no, it's gonna grow. We know it's gonna grow this much, most likely. Let's budget for the growth instead of like wait for a surprise of extra money. And we budgeted for the growth, and then more came in above that. 78,000. So 5%, you know, above our projection. So that's excellent news for us. I mean, it helps everybody. I mean, that you can say that covered most of the deficit alone. The fines, forfeitures, penalties, that's our tickets, our parking tickets. And oops.
That's
That, you know,
big number, Jonathan.
What do you say?
That's still a big number.
It's a big number.
The fee schedule wasn't as we had planned.
Well, yeah, exactly. So like three factors are involved in this. Like one, we started writing tickets later than planned. You know, we wanted to start April 1st. I think the first ticket was written April 20 or something like that. And so we lost 20 days of revenue. And that's not like nothing we did wrong. It's just like all the logistics, just
No,
and
it's,
waiting for the ticket, like physical ticket papers to come in. Can't write tickets without the paper. Um, so some, and yes, the county has yet to change their fee schedule. I mean, it's still, we have no ETA on that for this year. So I am still budgeting for like what we want it to be. We'll talk about this in the 26-27 budget because we're gonna just hope and put, budget it that way to make the pressure known that like we need it at this level to make a sustainable program at this point. So anyways, that came in half, but at the end of the day, it's still a good number, like you mentioned. Um, use of money and property, it's kind of hidden in here, but like, yeah, that's like our one second, let me get my notes real quick. That is, oh, that's our interest income, which we budgeted for the first time this year as well. And we made 20K extra on interest. And that's partially because our fund balance stayed bigger and partially because the market is just, doing well. So thank you, stock market. Um, our intergovernmental revenue, 100% perfect. I mean, this is an easy one. This is UCSB's grant to us, 200K a year. So we beat it by 94 cents, but that's as good as you can get to perfect in government budgeting. And then charges for services. We budgeted 30K for the community center rentals. We ended up with 26. So we're still a little under here in terms of what we want. And you'll see, this year's coming up. But yeah, I mean, I don't think this is necessarily because people are using the spaces less.
well, we have a sliding scale, so it
Yes,
means they're using it in the way we want them to use it. And
exactly.
that's least lucrative. And,
Exactly.
I think we all can see that the spaces are getting used to within an inch of their lives. I mean, I think we're doing great in that way. And this is, I think, very close in terms of our projection and our actuals.
Yeah, and it's like only the first full fiscal year
Yeah,
of
no, I think
of it.
that's forecasting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if we, our space is a service, now we're losing money
Yeah,
on
it's
services, that's
absolutely a
fine.
service.
I mean, our main goal with this money is to cover the janitorial costs. Like that's what we said when we first made the fees. It's like everybody says their favorite part of our spaces is how clean they are. So we should make sure we have money to cover the cleaning so that they continue to stay super clean so that people continue to love them. So yeah, straightforward. And then miscellaneous revenue, let's talk about this one for a quick second. This includes a lot of stuff. It includes the Soltopia grant from AS Program Board. And then a couple other private sponsorships and sales, like the move-in sale. And so you'll see, like we budgeted 450 because that also includes the county loan, the 300K. We didn't end up taking the loan in this fiscal year for lots of reasons, not just policy reasons, but also like just admin reasons as well. Like our audit wasn't done and they needed our audits done to release it. We also didn't really need it, and we'll talk about that once we get to the parking program review. But regardless, this 173 is a really good number because you'll see here, like the variance is 276. The variance should have been 300, right? Like if we got all the other money correctly and then not the loan, it would have been minus 300. But the fact it's minus 276 means we got an extra 24K essentially in our different miscellaneous revenue sources, whether that's like the credit card, rebates we get, whether it's like, again, private sponsorships. Maya was really good at getting things covered this year. Like we had like the Utopia, I think it was like a $10,000 scholar grant. So we had a lot come in this year in terms of sponsorships. So it looks like a big hole, but the important thing to know is that that's a loan, which is not even really revenue at the end of the day. It's like a debt we'd be taking on. So don't worry about that looking. I mean, I'm telling you not to worry. You might want to worry, but I think it's nothing to worry about. So we ended up with $2 million in revenue this year. And then on the top line for salaries, we saved 90,000 on salaries, so because of staffing changes and all that. And yeah, health insurance comes on, health insurance comes off, like all these different things. $90,000 savings in salaries. This was the year we made the big changes to the compost collective budget, right? Like it feels like it's a long time ago. It's actually only not that long ago, maybe 8 months ago only. So feels like the distant past, but it's not. And then services and supplies, I'd say 96% on like these hard costs or like, non-people costs is pretty dang on point. Like we budgeted 928, we spent 892. Like we could have like we didn't need to spend more. Like at least it's a good savings there. This is our insurance, pretty much exact, I don't know what happened here. I think we just invoice change. Maybe we didn't get the discount in the summer last year, but it's $5,000. We have to have insurance for ourselves, like liability insurance. And then finally, equipment 0 out of 60. We flirted with the idea of getting like the big equipment and the car and the license plate recognition. And we didn't because the program's too new. We don't really need that right now. Maybe in the future, we'll talk about, the parking program future is going to be a big topic in the next 2 months. So we might go there depending on the needs, but didn't need to spend it this fiscal year. So we ended up with, again, almost 2.1 million in expenses, which puts us at this 48K deficit for this year. So we drew 48,000 from our fund balance. And really, we can do an adjustment with our auditors later, and you can even clear that deficit out by just saying, we have in our fund balance, we have money for the mediation program and the safety stations that have yet to be cleared out. It's just, I have to admit, it's like it's not lazy. It's just been like, oh well, it's not like critical to just clear that out. It's just sitting there. It's commingled. Money's money. But we could say like, oh, we spent our assigned fund balance for safety stations and mediation, and our deficit's 0. Either way, the money's out of our account. 48,000 less in our total savings account. It's just like, oh, where did it come from? So regardless, we could essentially say 0 deficit this year. It's just this 48,000 came from a special fund to cover specific programs, which again, we'll get to the mediation program, but it had higher costs this year than ever before. So great results. That's why I said
I
this is
don't
gonna be a
know.
good meeting. Yeah.
I don't know that that isn't maybe a good idea, just because this is obviously public document and public information, and it's sophisticated enough that not every member of the general public would understand that.
Yeah.
And it definitely, sounds better to say that there was no deficit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we really, it was just that we chose to take money from reserves for purposes that were appropriate. And so I think just, to the lay public, that probably would sound better.
Yeah,
I could
that's a good point. So there's no operating deficit in
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah. We did draw from fund balance, but not on like we have a problem with our
Yeah,
structural budget. Yeah.
It's very good news.
Yeah. No, things are good.
Yeah.
Obviously we're not always gonna have $90,000 in savings in our salary spend, and we're not always gonna get a boost in our projections, and those definitely help even things out. But at the end of the day, we controlled costs and, brought in more revenue, and and drew from our assigned fund balances, and that's how we managed our budget.
Yeah, for this 5,000 in insurance, does our insurance normally come in even, or like is this like a one-time thing probably?
Sure.
We pay it once a year in July.
Yeah.
And so that's what the bill ended up being this year. We had budgeted this much, and then it came in a little over. So, sometimes they try to give you a discount if you pay early, but we don't always pay early because of how the fiscal year works for us. And it's kind of odd the timing they require to get the discount because like everybody does July 1st fiscal years pretty much in California, but right, we can't pay you until after the fiscal year starts. So it's hard to get the early discount. This year they extended it, so hopefully we get it. It's like $2,000 only this year. So
Mhm. Okay.
all right. Operations. You can see that like we saved $10,000 in our operation costs. This is what I'm very happy about. Legal spending was not ballooned this year.
Mhm.
We're getting some of the costs from June now in this year's budget, in this fiscal year, and that it's gonna be, you see it on the board agenda. We have elevated costs because we have to spend money on the ballot measure creation and the, election resolutions and all that. But you gotta spend money to gate money. That's a common thing we know. But otherwise, we controlled our legal fees very well this year. Which
Important.
in past years it's gone very high. So
They're very expensive.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
we're very happy with this. Same with contractual services. This is our accountant. So that's good. And then in terms of
That
our
relationship sure has worked out well, huh?
yeah, and
Our,
that's thanks to
yeah.
Ross. He had introduced us, our old attorney. He introduced us to Carrie Troop. And
No,
yeah.
it seems like it's very reasonable and the service that we get is excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, our lives are easier from it. And yeah. And you get these cleaner budgets quicker.
Yeah.
And then pretty much, we had the main savings in the salary for the operations staff is the fact that, we didn't spend our full intern budget. Everything else is like as exact as you can get it with these fluctuating types of costs. So it's the intern budget. We didn't spend as much as we planned. It's not that like less work was done, but also like Faye was one of our operations interns, but then Faye became a Soltopia intern as well, which was good because Faye did a great job at Soltopia, took away time to spend on the admin. But hey, Soltopia was the big cheese, or one of the big cheeses, one of the big accomplishments from last year. We had to spend time there, and there's limited time, right? Like we couldn't have Faye working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much on point here, 97.95%. Our office budget, again, a little under. We don't always spend everything on the office. We budgeted 5,000 for random expenses that come up, paper, all that kind of stuff. We've underspent by a lot. We spent a little extra on training, and this is a very modest training budget regardless, for any organization. So we spent a little extra, but I think all the training we did this year, the different conferences, have been super valuable. Like, I think I mentioned to the board once, like Maya and Sydney went to like a PIO conference a couple months ago. And that's where we learned about how like you structure your website and FAQ so that the AI can read it better. So that when people ask AI about IV issues, the AI goes to us for the answer and then gives it to them.
Mhm.
So like learning that, like it seems maybe
Valuable.
obvious, but like no, it's not that obvious. So that's good, like well spent. Like that's $500 to know that, and now like it massively expands our reach. So admin costs pretty much exact. Sometimes these costs go up here and there. And so we like Zoom sometimes raises their costs or something like that. And so we have to pay it because we need Zoom. We're using it, our Zoom paid account right now. But otherwise, pretty much 101%. So on point, 1,500 out of 105.
Mhm.
And then board, this is good news. We're spending more on our board members this year. We're getting people to get the 3 days of service more than before. So not everyone's gonna do them. Not everyone's gonna claim them. Not everyone's gonna be on committees, right? Like there was a board member who was on no committees this last year, or like just on one and it didn't meet. So, but we budget as if everyone's gonna get 3 a month, and then not everyone does. But yeah, this is good. It's good to see growth in the spending here because we want to be able to like compensate our board and get the most out of our board. Because yeah, you guys are valuable, and you guys are, our external facing arm in a lot of ways. And yeah, we want our board members to be compensated. So one day, hopefully we get to 25K. We means like we have a fully busy operating board and all that. So that's operations, community room. Wow, we spent the salaries like pretty much exact on here. So nothing to say there. We had one employee the whole year essentially, Labney. And then the other costs again, they all came in pretty much like equipment and maintenance came in a little higher, not a little bit, like a lot higher, but we really had things that needed to be replaced. Like you guys have seen the nice new couches in the center, for example. Or no, sorry, I think they got like accounting wise moved from 7347 to 7120. It's okay. At the end of the day, it's the same result. But yeah, we had to make some investments this year. So it's nothing wild, and people, we had that town hall, was very nice.
Yeah.
People got to sit on nice couches. We got new tables this year. We didn't anticipate needing to do that 100%, but we did get them, and you guys are sitting on them right now or using them right now. So our old tables were they were used up. They were used up. Let's just say that. And now we know we have like about a 5 to 6 year cycle on tables because we bought them last in 2020. And then maybe there was like 2 years where they were never used because of COVID. We got the last set of tables literally the week before COVID started. Yeah. Yeah, so everything was, I mean, again, for this program, we spent 100% exactly of what we budgeted. This is you couldn't ask for better. And I can say like our program, like our directors, like Maya, she's really good on a budget. Like she knows how to track a budget and stick to it. So thank you, Maya.
And persuade us to increase it.
Yeah. Well,
That too.
it's a good case when you're like, I'm spending every penny you gave me exactly how we wanted it, but
Yeah,
here's
we know
another
how high it
10
is.
pennies we'd like to have.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Survivor Resource Center, we had big plans for changes and improvements here. And like we didn't do the accounting. Like this rent is like just right here. It's in here now. It's at the end of the day, rent is rent.
Yeah.
So, but really this is the number to look at, 16 and 9. And a lot of it is like, oh, it's a new approach to a new program. So you're not going to be able to spend the whole vision right away because it's like startup costs and startup time. There's money and time involved. And we got some deals. Some partners ended up just giving us freebies or, saying, we'll do this one for free and stuff like that. So that ended up great. Community festivals, Soultopia. So we brought in 293,000 in other funding for it. This is AS Program Board 138. This is the UCSB contribution. And we were expecting to maybe spend, look, we pretty much spent our Soultopia budget on point. Like again, 319, 307. We saved money. We saved money on Soultopia and we're successful. We did end up like there's a note here from Sydney, like we did move some other money in here too, because of the safety stations not operating at full capacity in winter. But end of the day, that's all safety money. So we did win on safety at the end of the day and make our safety goals better met. So this is really good. Like we really got our Soultopia budget again, like as good as you can get it. And this is like, there's the employee costs, which I think we just adjusted the budget to be exactly, but this is what we had said on like all the other costs. And yeah, we saved 11K or 11.5K on the other costs. So this is excellent. We didn't have like massive cost overruns. Like we could have easily been like, oh, we budgeted 300, we had to spend 450 because of, people take advantage of you when you're spending quickly, on an important issue, right? It's easy to just say, here's how much we're charging, but we were able to control costs and be successful. So thank you, Maya, again. And then community engagement. yeah, we spent a little under. This is like some staffing changes essentially, like gaps and stuff between staff, and we didn't do the full intern. And yeah, on the other costs, we were very like 30,000 budgeted, 31,000 spent. Like this is exact. 470 is, one extra set of flyers we might have really needed at the end of the day. So yeah, we thank Maya for keeping her program 3001 through 2008 all well tracked and managed. And then mediation, this is the one where I'm like, yeah, we spent extra. We have a savings account for it, but we spent extra is good because that means people got help. And Sydney can talk to you guys if you want to share, but like we've gotten some stellar reviews from people recently about this program.
Good. Oh, that's very nice. It's important, definitely important.
Like proactive, like not even because we have an evaluation like spreadsheet or form, but we have people like just messaging us. And I went to a fundraiser for City College, met 3 people who own property in IV, and they were like, yeah, we love your program. It's helped us work with our tenants better. Like everybody loves it, tenants and landlords. So
Very nice.
who would have
Surprising.
thought? Who would have thought? Yeah.
Exactly. Great.
It's hard to win with all parties in Isla Vista, but we somehow did.
Yeah. If
Um,
any, maybe we can get like a testimonials if they're okay with having
we
their comment.
we do have some testimonials. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can work on like compiling them maybe for the next annual report. Yeah.
That's something.
Next up, safety stations. Like you see here, we took away it. I mean, you wouldn't see it because it says adjusted budget, and for some reason they don't show you like original budget and adjusted budget on Workday, but we'll forgive them. But this was budgeted higher, and we took some away to put towards Soltopia. And then yeah, we even then spent less, even after taking away the winter costs. So this has been, pretty low spending. I mean, this is what we were spending in 2018, I think, on this program.
Wow.
So we are trying to talk to them. Like we are asking, like, can we raise the pay for the people who do our shift just so that we can guarantee we get people fully staffed?
Yeah.
Because we know it's a hard shift. Like most CSOs are doing like the dorms at night, which they're inside, walking around with couches available to sit on. Ours are
Yeah.
sitting on plastic chairs at 1 o'clock in the morning in a park where it's dark. Like,
And right by the beach, so it's even colder.
yeah, exactly. Like one of the stations is on the beach essentially. So we're trying to work on that, but it's not, it's a contract, so we're not in control here.
Okay.
Ivy Safe, pretty much exact, 3 lunches a year. Went a little over, but all that money went to Ivy local businesses directly. So yeah, went right back into the community.
Just a little additional.
Parking program. All right. We did pretty good in our staffing predictions for how much I don't really like this was a giant guess, 25,000 on salaries. We spent 23,452, like pretty how much better. And then we hired 2 parking ambassadors, and then we spent half that budget because one of them left us early on because we're not gonna he just got another job or another opportunity. So we spent half of it, and now we have 2 ambassadors. So we'll have the full operation this year. And then we didn't, sometimes our employees don't take the health insurance, but we budgeted for it. So we saved there too. So yeah, we had a $16,000 savings. And then the rest of the expenses, again, like pretty on point, right? Like 58K planned for supplies and our, subscription services. And a lot of them have like one-time setup fees that we won't have to pay again. So that was pretty good. And then this is the 60K that we didn't spend on the license plate recognition and the car. So we don't have a car and we don't have fancy cameras yet. But we're doing great without them right now with the purposes we need for. So But yeah, we spent, it's hard to say we spent half or we saved half. You really should look at this one being 70% and salaries being 70%. So we pretty much spent 70% of what was planned, which is pretty good. Beautification, again, yeah, Jenna also does a good job at like, clearly tracking her expenses. We just had, again, we had a little extra here because of staffing. We had like two staff at the same time, and we had we'll talk, a closed session matter that required extra spending in beautification salary spend. But otherwise, and again, we had some health insurance savings because of staff not taking the insurance. So, and we had Nico as part-time in most of the year doing the project manager role. So that's like lower cost because part-time employees get a lower health plan. But he's now full-time, so we'll budget for that. And then services and supplies again, like we had to spend more, but a lot of it was just issues, some issues come up where we have to call in help. A lot of it's like calling for you, who we've called in for like one-off instances in the community that we don't plan for necessarily, but we had budgeted for. But again, like if there's a big, trash pile, we have to deal with it
You have to deal with
regardless.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
we don't
making the right,
know.
for sure.
At the end of the day, our goal is to make IV clean, and we had the money to do it, so we did it.
Whatever it takes.
And Hauling for You does really good work out here.
Local company, so another money going back into the community. This is our this is multiple things, but this is mainly the bathrooms on DP. It's cheaper than we thought this year. So this is another one where we've been like trying to fine tune and figure out what the budget really is. So this is good. Like we're still deploying the same amount of service. It's just not as expensive. Always nice to hear that. Public art, we didn't budget for public art this year on purpose, but we did have a couple projects come to the board for one-time approvals. So, the one on Pescadero, the sunset one, I see all the time. It's really nice. It's near your house, Catherine, kind of. Yeah, so that's one of them. Move out, we spent 100% essentially. Like we were pretty on point with move out. Nothing, 1,600 over. And sometimes that's like, it's also straddling 2 fiscal years move out. Like we pay, it does. Like the event itself goes between June and July. And so sometimes you're paying 1 fiscal year and then you're waiting for the next fiscal year to pay some. So it's hard to budget exact for move out, but we're doing it pretty close.
And do we feel like it was very successful this year?
Well, we were successful. I can't say the same, other agencies, and there was a lot of confusion around who's doing what outside of us. Like there was some service changes that were noticed by Marburg, by community members, but yeah, we were successful. So.
And are we trying to intercede with those other agencies to get them
Yeah,
together?
as much as we can, but it's not our contract, it's the
We
county.
don't get
So
that.
we gotta be a city and take on the franchise agreement. It's really the best thing we can do. But we hosted the meetings that kind of brought all the issues out. So
Well, that's important.
yeah.
This is also where Hauling for You helps us out.
Yeah. And then Compost Collective, it's kind of funky, these percentages, like 1,000,000% difference and whatever. Like this is just all part of the not winding down, but like the changing in the program. So we're just like clearing out old expenses, making room for the new. But overall, we saved some money on the program, and it should continue on its path of like being a lower cost and smaller scope, but still meeting a lot of the needs, which is like education, volunteerism, giving people a way to engage with the idea of like food systems. Yeah, we're not solving climate change and we're not solving the food problem or the waste issues in IV with this, but it's more of like a education volunteer opportunity now more
And
that
it's
people
still
love, by the way. Yeah.
Mhm.
Tree program, we spent a little extra on trees, but you know, when you think about it 30 years from now, it'll pay off with the carbon dioxide that'll be and cleaner air we'll have. So I think 500 extra dollars for cleaner air in the future should be worth it. And we had a lot of residents get them, like long-term residents and student residents.
I wonder.
And are they taking good care of their trees, and are we having some fatalities?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Jenna. I don't have an update on that, but we'll get that. That's a good question. We'll note that to ask her.
I actually think the biggest tree fatality in IV right now is this like moss lichen thing. That's like spreading onto everyone. So
Right. Bike shed, again, we underspent. We have budgeted a lot for our mechanic to keep our fleet going, but we don't have to always spend it. So we didn't this time. So we had a little savings here.
mhm.
And that's still a good relationship and it's working well?
It's been great. He
Yeah.
does a lot of training for other staff on safety. We've never had a bike incident. We're on these bikes
Good.
24/7, right? Like every day of the week almost, biking around. And so no one's been hurt. Everyone's well trained. The bikes have not fallen apart while riding them. One of them is down right now. I'm trying to fix it, but I think I've told you guys this before. Like these bikes are more like cars than bikes. They're
Yeah.
closer to cars in their mechanics. So he's good at that. But you know, one's out of commission, but no one's been hurt. No one's gotten in an accident in years. I mean, it's never happened. So yeah, it's worth it.
These are like the utility bikes, right?
Yeah. Like the wagon ones.
Well, that's
All right. That's the last year. That's the past.
Great. It's a very
That was nice.
successful year.
Yeah.
Nice to hear all about it and see all the detail. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, no, this is, big part of the fiduciary duty for the board. And so we'll include this as an attachment with the main budget. We won't go over this at the board meeting because I can go over the main slide, the first one, but I know the board has not wanted to go into this deep detail outside of the finance committee. So but it's good. It's good to have. Very good to
Yeah.
have.
We need to have it for sure.
Yeah.
I like the detail.
Okay.
All right.
So now that brings us to 3.2, the annual budget survey results.
All right. Do you want to do this one, Sydney? Sydney's been working with our intern, Erica, who's like been our data analyst to do lots of different data stuff, but one of them being a human touch to the survey results. Because you guys did see an AI version of the result analysis because we had to do quick. But now we had a human do it. So we'll see this version. So I'll share my screen and yeah, you want to go for it, Sydney?
Yeah, so basically,
And we
Erica
don't have to
took,
do all like 30 slides in
I'm not
detail.
gonna go through it all. I'm honestly just sharing it kind of high level.
Yeah.
Because these aren't results that you're not familiar with. You already have heard everything. But this is a really nice way to look at it in a way that's like very easily digestible. So this will be a more public facing document, I think, because oftentimes when a lot of like the trainings and things that I've been to, when you take a survey, you never really hear the results of the survey or hear how that organization is taking that data and information that you took the time to share and then implementing it back into the organization. So this does a really beautiful job of kind of showing what we heard and then the direction that we're headed. So like I said, I really don't want to go deep dive into every one of these slides, but Jonathan, if you just want to kind of click through some of them. It is very pretty. It is very nice to kind of see some of the points called out in little boxes. This is just like an overview. Slide 7 or kind of has those boxes that I mentioned. Yeah. So where it kind of gives you the data and it calls out some of the like high level points of like
Mhm.
our takeaways from this. So you'll kind of see that throughout, but like I said, just a really nice way to look at it all. And Erica read through every single response
Wow.
and compiled all of this to create this beautiful presentation. She's phenomenal. I'm gonna miss her very much. But this is like another example, kind of like I said, the data and then what we really heard when you like dig deep into the because most of the answers were like fill it in, right?
Yeah,
So like you
yeah.
have to kind of weed through all of that to get this result. So but I mean, like I said, like you've heard a lot of these responses, but the biggest takeaway is overall people like high quality of life. But obviously called out some of these things. The representation was probably the lowest rated area, which she goes into.
But that could also be county, right? Like that's not.
It's it's very hard to tell.
Advocation for city good.
Yes, and we heard a lot about that throughout as well. And they talked a lot about housing. I think I can't see from there, Jonathan. It's like towards the bottom, but there's like that was the biggest thing that we heard, which I'm glad that we're putting some more resources towards the housing mediation program. Yeah. So we'll have this on our website accessible for people to read through. But yeah, just a really great tool and resource.
Wow. This is also wonderful for her professional portfolio.
Totally. Yeah. And it took her, she was saying it took a lot more time than she anticipated.
Data always does.
Yes. So, and a lot of, reading through it all.
And did she build this into a template or did she create
She
this?
shared the template. Yeah, it's in Canva. So we have it that we can use for future interns. That's something that Eric has been working a lot on this summer. We usually don't have our interns stay through the summer, but Erica really wanted to, which is how we got this product, which is nice. Yeah. But if you have any questions, obviously I'm happy to answer anything, but just kind of wanted to give you a high level.
This is a nice document.
Yeah. I would say like these slides 9 through 12 are the main ones.
Yeah, representation is interesting.
And of course it is a relatively small sampling.
So, it is.
We've got to kind of keep that in mind too.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the higher years that we've had though, which was due to a lot of tabling, but I agree it is in comparison to the population. Yes.
Housing, number one. We know that. We live here. We know.
Oh, it's nice. I think it validates that a lot of what we see needs to be done and what we're trying to do is in accord with what the community wants. So
no one's surprised.
We're doing what we should be doing.
Totally.
Okay, well, let's keep going then. And talk about 3.3, which is potential utility tax revenue and community investment priorities.
Okay. So this is more of a free-form discussion. But I do have some like numbers to talk with you guys about. But we wanted to talk like, okay, if we did get the new measure, the new revenue from the tax measure, where would we put it? And so what I'm putting forward as an idea is nothing new, but essentially it's first we have to say, okay, we're gonna say that we've said this, like we're estimating 1.2 million in annual revenue from the new measure, but it's only gonna be half for this year because of implementation. It passes only in November, it's not certified until December, and then the first collections will be in January. So it's half. And then there's this funky thing where we have to collect the sewage tax through the property tax rolls, and that we're not able to like assess it. We have to do that today essentially, and we're not able to assess that until it's after it's passed. So we're missing out on that first 6 months of sewage revenue. So it really gives us about $500,000, in the first year to look at budgeting.
And we'll get it eventually, or
we'll get it next fiscal year.
It'll just it'll be delayed. That's all.
Yeah, delay. Yeah, it's a delay. So yeah, we have essentially $500,000 that will come in, and that's again an estimate on itself, but that's that's based on real numbers. It's not made up. It's just yeah, we're never gonna know exactly what it ends up being, but we're estimating 500,000. And we've discussed some of this at the board retreat, but we said, at the board retreat, these are just ideas. And what I'm putting forward is like the way we could look at the 500,000 this year is three main uses. And so number one is to fund or finish funding Soultopia 2.
Mhm.
So getting that to happen next, because that we remember when we passed the budget originally, we said the deficit is largely due to the cost of Soultopia not having a dedicated revenue source.
Mhm.
When we did this in June, like when we deleted Soultopia out of the budget, we had no deficit, but when we put it in, we did have a small, $100,000 deficit. So that's the first cut, is to fund that. Second,
And when we say fund that, we're talking about funding it at the same level that we had it this year, but we're funding it instead of the associated students funding it to the extent that they did?
no, it's still having them funded too.
So are we making it a bigger event then?
No, same cost.
So we're just substituting for whose money?
That's a good question. I mean, substituting and it's giving it a dedicated revenue source. This year we did spend tax revenue that, again, we had a $48,000 deficit still. If we didn't do Soultopia, that might have not been there. And we used the UCSB contribution as well on that, which has gone towards other sources in the past. Like we had less on the safety stations, for example, this year. We only did 40,000. That's supposed to be a $90,000 cost.
So we're saying we spent more than we would typically be able to this year.
Yes. We
And so
invested in a
to
startup.
continue
Yeah.
That level, we need to use new funding, or else the event would shrink down to a smaller size.
Exactly. Like it doesn't have a dedicated revenue stream currently. Like we can fund it still, but it'll take putting together other sources of funding and like not funding other things. Like we hope we don't have a safety station downturn again this year, right?
Yeah.
But that's partially how we funded it this year, was because we had a $40,000 savings there but that was from less service. We
Okay.
don't want that, right? Like we want to have the full service there and
right.
our
So in order to maintain it at that level, we need a new revenue source.
yes.
Okay. All right.
And then
you were moving on to the next thing.
yeah, no, sorry, please interrupt me. Number two would be putting money towards our cityhood application. If our preliminary study comes out good in December, which we're thinking it will, we need to put money away to have in like a lockbox to spend on the actual full cityhood application, which can be about $200,000. And that's, again, if you look at the survey results, that's one of the big things people are asking for is greater representation. And we need to put that, like, I feel like that's important to save that money and get it into a fund before we start taking on regular operating costs into the new measure, which in the 27-28 fiscal year, we'll be able to look at the full measure costs, and then, there'll be more demands on the budget at that point, because more revenue means, okay, well, we have this need and this need and this need and that need that are more like day to day and ongoing. So I think it's smart to put some away for this very important issue that people are telling us is important and that, has a hard cost to it. Like we can't only do 100,000 of it. Just like, for another program, we go like, oh, we don't have as much money this year. We can maybe put in a little less. That's not one where we can do that. It's like that's
and the hard cost is for consultants.
Yeah, well, not consultant, the application to LAFCO, the environmental impact report. Like there's a lot of different, I mean, that's a consultant, but yeah, there's those kinds of costs associated with the cityhood application.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's number
And,
two. Oh, go ahead.
And the person who's doing our preliminary, is that the type of person who would be a consultant on an application?
Yes, and it's kind of I heard it two ways, but you know, you can either keep the same person you use for the preliminary for the main, or you can usually they say get someone else to do the second one.
It's the
But
same skill set.
same type, yeah. And also LAFCO ends up choosing or being in charge of the process. Different than this preliminary where we're fully in charge of it.
Okay.
When we do an application to LAFCO for cityhood, they
Mhm.
call the shots and then bill us.
Mhm.
So, you know, we are more frugal with our own money, with our own like controlling, right? It's different when someone else is charging you versus when you uh do it yourself, just like in your own life. So, um yeah, so that's another one. And then number three, which is, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it's been something we've been talking a lot about. It's something in our parking plan, and it's something we're gonna have come to the board at the September 8th meeting. Um, at the request of, I talked to Spencer and Catherine about this to move this along a little quicker, is the residential parking permit program. Because at the end of the day, that's the real solution to the parking issues in IV. Like it's giving the residents dedicated parking, and that's gonna have startup costs, both consultant startup costs and infrastructure startup costs. Like we need to pay people to applying, going through the coastal commission is a feat upon itself that does cost money to do. And you can already see like the consultant costs for even implementing the parking program itself, like the simple version, haven't been like necessarily very cheap. I mean, they've been necessary, and for how necessary they are, it has been affordable, but it's a higher dollar cost at the end of the day. Like there is a dollar cost to it that's not low. But also we know that from our experience is like we can't just keep writing tickets and not changing fundamentally what's happening at the curb. And so we do need to change
The curve.
the curb. Yeah, we need to change the allocation of that resource. And the parking permit program has been, I don't want to call it silver bullet, but like has been like seen as the thing that needs to happen in Isla Vista for 20, 30 years. It's been a part of the Ivy master plan. It's part of our parking plan. It's been part of other uh, plans and development in IV. And we know that like a significant number of cars are not from IV residents,
Mhm.
hundreds, right? Like we don't know the exact number, but we know it's large. And so we need to also, there's like an operating cost to that, like, real-time expenses and some capital costs we need to, put in a dedicated lockbox to be able to, if we got to, like, first we have to spend money to get through the coastal commission. And then once we do, because I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say once we do, we need to then spend money on things like signage and the license plate recognition technology and the maybe more staff to administer giving out the permits and like a system to print and make the permits and like all this kind of stuff. We need to put money away from this. So, and I would so based on like the survey results, based on like our experiences going through things, this is about $500,000, like 100K for Soltopia, 200 for cityhood, 200 for the parking permit program, that equals 500,000. I think that's like it meets the community issues that we see in our survey. It meets the priorities that we've been dealing with on a, last, 12-month basis. And it moves the ball forward in like significant ways on representation, on safety and community events, and on quality of life in neighborhoods, which are, the 4 areas we look at. So that would be my pitch to you all, is to focus on those things for this first fiscal year. Because there are other things we might want to use this revenue for, but a lot of those things are infrastructure costs that are outside of us, like whether that's lighting that, we don't control that, whether that's bus stop amenities, we don't control that, library branch services we talked about, we don't fully control that. Even the unarmed response and at night for like the new policing system we're looking at, we're like, that is still in flux. We don't know where that's going to land. It's also not fully in our control. These 3 things are more in our control, right? Like cityhood application, we decide to apply, but we need money to apply. Residential parking permit program, again, like we would have to take the charge and go through the coastal commission, but once approved, we would be doing that directly ourselves. And then the Soltopia, again, that's something we have to get a permit, but still, we got it once, we'll get it again. The other kinds of costs we can use this tax on, I think we need more lead time to first have the money in hand or to know it's passed, to then be able to like negotiate and talk about, we had talked about a lot about taking out big loans to do big infrastructure projects and then paying them off with the measure over time. Can't really get a loan to do something like that without the money in hand and without the agencies that would be actually spending the money, like the county, fully agreed to it. So that's why I would say these 3 things are like more in our hands and just ongoing projects that, are the next steps of them and what the residents have told us are priorities in our survey. And this is also not, like we could say it's these things, but if there are different things that happen, like surprise events in 3 or 4 months, we can obviously pivot as well, but that's what I would recommend.
My gut is these are not very good things to sell to the public. Cityhood application just sounds like a lot of bureaucracy that, nobody's gonna see. The fact that, it's funding Soltopia at the level that we have done it seems kind of like a little bit hard to understand. And then the parking, I think, continues to be something that's going to be controversial, just because, people get tickets. And so there's probably some, unhappiness about parking. So, to me, they just don't feel like, yeah, that's it. Just as a, selling it to the public.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you guys. Also, though, the permits are to help the residents not get tickets because it gets the freshmen
I mean,
out
I
who
do
don't live
understand.
here. Yeah.
It just, again, as like, if we're out there, advocating for this, they just,
We aren't going to be out there advocating for this, right? Like
we are.
the
We are.
district isn't. The district is not. We're not allowed to. But yeah.
All right.
Well, yes, but if this is our like practical, like if we get the tax, like what is this gonna fund? Like I don't know if the advocacy needs to like match 100%, like the planning for half a fiscal year, because advocacy is for what we're going to do for this fiscal year and the next one going on, but this is more like what we're going to do for half a fiscal year, right? So I think for this one, like, yeah, we need to sell something exciting to the public, but also what are our biggest needs right now? And I think these like,
Don't we have some pretty severe needs with safety, given the foot patrol leaving town?
Well, we cannot supplant service, and we don't have any way to know what all our alternative deployment will look like, because that is just, I couldn't tell you a budget for that because we don't even know what it's going to be. So I can't like plan for something we don't know. Whereas Soltopia, we know very directly what it is.
yeah.
So maybe we should look at what we would do for a whole year.
Mhm.
And then the things that we would do for a whole year would be some longer range things that, you know, would be more exciting to people.
Yeah, because I think like there's like kind of two roads I see here where like there's an advocacy road where you want to be like, you know, broader and not talk about like little minute details. And then there's well, we actually need to fund things and yes, talk about minute details. So, you know, we can do like a top down of these are our broad priorities, bring it down in to specific details. But like we could do, yeah, like public safety is a big one and then figure out specifically, you know, is public safety we can't supplant anything, all right, we want it to be safety station, we want it to be more events like Soultopia. So are we trying to get more like broad points today, or are we trying to get specific line items? Today?
We don't actually have to do any of this. You guys asked to talk
No,
about this
we thought
today.
it would be good to be ready to hit the road running. If
Yeah.
we got.
Yeah, which
So-
and then we can always adjust our budget in November. Like if the tax passes in November. So, okay, here, let me back up. We can approve our budget tomorrow or like on Tuesday without the tax measure included in there. And
Mhm.
like since we're not using this tax measure to plug a deficit like the city of Santa Barbara did, we have no real need to budget for the tax in our annual budget because the money literally does not exist in any way, real way. So this can just be a preliminary discussion today and goes not nowhere, but like can just be resolved much later.
Mhm.
So there's that. Like there's no pressure to decide this at all today. Like it's optional. Like you could, if you wanted to, budget for the tax in the annual budget. And then if we get it, we keep the budget. If we don't get it, we change it back down. Or you can do the opposite, like pass the budget without the tax in it, and then adjust the budget in November if the money comes in, and then, you know, allocate it then.
And so the budget we passed would show a reduced Soultopia.
No, we can keep the same budget for Soultopia just with the 100K deficit, just like we passed it in June.
Okay.
And again, we are not advocating for this tax. The campaign does what they do, and that's a separate entity. And the campaign, like I think Catherine said, can speak on any number of things. And I don't think anyone's like, they're going to talk about it in the long-term impact, big-term impact, wide swath impact, not, oh, there's 105K budgeted for X for this January. I mean, yeah, a campaign would never do that. And a voter would never want to listen to that. So our job is to just budget for the funds, but we don't have to do that today because the money's not even really anywhere close to real yet.
Yeah. So do you want to like talk about broader priorities that we can also bring to the wider board of, you know, these are the general things we want to fund and then work there?
I mean,
Yeah,
you guys already did that at the retreat by
Yeah.
designing a tax measure. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can pick out
Okay.
like, because we have broad priorities, we can pick out specific services within that, like
Mhm.
safety station or.
Yeah. I would really recommend, yeah, I mean, while I brought these ideas to you because it was requested, I don't think it's right timing to say this is exactly how 500K is about to be spent starting January.
Mhm.
I think it's gets ahead of ourselves in a way.
And you could actually spend 600 because part of that money will come in. It just, you'll have a timing issue about when it does come in, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Like, no, the sewage tax, we're not going to get it all for 26, 27.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you have to press the button today for it.
Okay.
And we
So
can't
it's
press
not
that
a
button.
time issue, it's-
Yeah,
it's
so
a-
we will forfeit that whole year worth of revenue from the tax for sewage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
Well, it makes sense that we would spend money on this. But I think we shouldn't formalize it at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I brought these ideas.
No, I asked
Yeah.
you to.
Yeah.
Please don't be defensive.
No, I'm not.
But I think also like, waiting for the public to become more engaged with the tax and hearing from them on what more specific things they'd like to fund, I think would also be helpful in
Yeah.
making these decisions more specifically. Yeah.
Okay, well,
We're just so eager to be proactive.
I'm ready to move along if you are,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about our final developed budget for 2026, 2027.
Yeah, so I have good, I mean, it's gonna keep it simple. This is one of the years where we really didn't have to make um any changes between preliminary and final except for one or two. So this is good. It's actually really good. I mean, I updated the revenue numbers based on what's come in. Let me share my screen. Um, the two main changes were we had budgeted 1,660,000 for revenue, and based on what actually was the result for 25-26 plus our multiplier that we have agreed to use, it's gone up by 20,000 here. The projection for the current utility user tax, Measure R. So that's the one change in revenue. Everything else is staying the same revenue-wise. This is the 50,000 for community center improvements out of our capital, just a reminder. This is our parking reserves that we have to use that we're, using to start up the program. And this is the capital funds again for the Cliff Memorial and some other public work, like public displays we're putting forward. But again, that's not new. That is from the preliminary budget. And then the other change on expense was our outreach coordinator. We just fine-tuned the pay a little more, and it went from 46 to 48,000. So an extra $2,000 just because we had the COLA take into effect. So to true up that pay to be more in line with everything, like everyone else went up. So let's move this one up a little bit too from what we were thinking in June. So besides those two things, we looked at it as a staff and really there was no major change to make from June to August. So the deficit shrinks a bit to 86,000 thanks to the higher tax revenue because of the projections going forward. But otherwise, so actually it's two draws on fund balance. Like we're drawing 86,000 from our general fund balance, and then the 145,000 is mainly from our capital account and from our parking account. So yes, you could say it's 86,000 plus 145,000 being drawn from fund balance. But these are one time. Like this is one time, this is one time. The parking program is one time-ish because hopefully, ticket revenues stabilize and come in and everything, it's still startup mode, the parking program. So we planned for this. Like this is not, we've been planning to spend this reserve like this for 2 years now. So it's now just simply happening. So yeah, I don't have any. I hate to have anticlimactic final budget proposal, but I think this is better to not have like a big swing from June to August, which has been the case in lots of previous years. So it is a slightly better picture. It's $20,000 less. So yeah.
Great.
I don't know. If you guys want me to run through the spending again, I can, which I'll just do quickly just for posterity. But operations staff is me and Sydney plus one intern. Our legal costs, our accountant, that's all staying the same. No change there. Office costs kept it the same. We're not changing that. Training costs, I think we bumped it up because of what, this year right, it was 3,000 before, we spent 5,000, we just budgeted 5. Admin costs pretty much the same. I mean, this is just the election and we'll find out. I mean, if you guys want me to do this, if we find out if we get an election or not for the board of directors, I can take out that cost out of the budget, or it'll just be a happy savings we get. But we have to budget for having a competitive election, but if there isn't, we save this amount. So that's another one-time quote unquote cost in the budget, 20,000. Like technically you could say our deficit's 66,000 because this cost doesn't exist every year. It's not an operating cost. And then so that's that. Our community spaces, again, this is where we put in the 50K extra in spending for the capital improvements to the building, like audiovisual. We do have the vision of eventually spending some of the new measure costs on more nightlife events, but we need to do an investment in the space before we do that, and we have a capital account for that. But that's the only big difference. And then we have an intern this year in this area, but that was already budgeted for. Survivor resources, we're just spending a little less because we know we need to spend a little less, but it's the same kind of 4 or 5 events a quarter. Community gardens staying the same. Soultopia, it looks like a change because we had originally budgeted 109 for, before we even knew Soultopia was happening, but now 300s are cost for the event. And also I can't say it'll be less or the same because we had to spend fast, so now we have longer time to spend, so we can make 300,000 stretch a bit more. So maybe it'll be a little bigger or a little more because we have more time to spend the money and without the cost of speed as included. I already mentioned to you the outreach coordinator, we just bumped the pay up by $2,000 a year. And we have a community engagement intern, but that was already budgeted for. Otherwise, no major changes in community engagement. And then vending machine, we just put in a little extra money to have some more services dispensed through the machine. Rental mediation, we decided last meeting to beef this one up a bit because it's been used more. So this is more reflective of the actual utilization the last year. Safety stations, we did dial down a little bit because we know it's not going to be the 3 essentially all year. The staffing it might be 3 in 2 of the quarters or 1 of the quarters, but not all 3 quarters. So we're trying to work this out. This one may change. We might come for a budget adjustment in the future if we're able to work out some kind of supplemental pay to make the 3 happen. But as of what we know now, there aren't the people to make 3 happen for 3 quarters. So we're just not going to budget for it. We're not going to keep budgeting for something that's not going to happen. Parking program. Yeah, more ambassadors will be on the streets this year. And otherwise, everything is staying generally status quo. We're not making huge, a lot of the cost increase is just from having the staff for 1 year instead of 1 quarter. But over the same level of service, just stretched out to a year. And you'll see we're budgeting 200,000 in expenses, and we're budgeting 120K in ticket revenue, and then we're covering 80K from our parking reserve. So I hope people can clearly see and know from watching this and looking at this that this program does not make us money in any way. And that's not the goal. We want to write 0 tickets, but in the we can say that, but then if people look at our numbers, which is the real, the real truth, no, it costs way more to run this than it costs to bring whatever it brings in ticket revenue. We don't really look at that as a measure of success, but we need to have a sustainable program too. And then even this whole program 7,000, we're not really having much of a difference in cost from year to year. It's like pretty much staying the same from 25, 26. And that's mainly moving things around from compost into other areas. Like we just have not the full-time staff there anymore. And we've spread that money out across the public works budget in other ways. Um, yeah, so it's 2 full-time staff here. And you know, parking we split out as a separate thing. It is part of the public works department as well, but for accounting purposes, it's cleaner and better because you have to audit parking separately. So we just keep it separate, but they're all in the same hierarchy within the organization. Um, but yeah, this 15,000 again is like one-time structure and improvement costs that we're doing, but that's like being absorbed into this, no change in the budget for that department. Because we're just spending less in some other areas. And yeah, I mean, the compost collective, as you see here, is now 40,000 or 39,000. It was 55 this year. So we're bringing that down significantly. And yeah, we did some more realistic budgeting on the shed. Just, I kind of contradict myself. Like we budgeted for more, but we just don't need it. We haven't been spending it. And if it became a critical issue, we'd really only be spending like 1,000 more, not 6,000 more, right? Like that's the scale we're operating at. Even if we had an overage, it's not going to be a $6,000 overage on the mechanic costs. So yeah, it's a status quo budget, but we kind of said that's what it's going to be a long time ago. Back in April, May, we said it's a status quo budget, and the measure that we've put forward is for the new services and infrastructure we'd want to do. So we're able to afford our status quo.
With no reserve allocation.
With some reserve allocation. I mean, there's 65,000 for one-time infrastructure costs. And then there's 80,000 for the parking operating reserves. And then there's 86,000 for essentially Soltopia.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Thank you. No, it's good to be simple some years and good to not have major changes. And
No, that looks very good.
Yeah.
So we are meeting as a board this coming Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And so are we passing the budget then?
Yes.
We're passing the budget then. And I'll remind you that I wanted to do that resolution for M special. So I better get that to you like tomorrow.
Oh, yes. I did not have that on my mind. But thank you for reminding. That is a great point. Wow. Yes, we need to thank them 110%.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Together then. And I guess we don't know when we're going to meet again, so we will just leave the future undetermined at this point.
yeah, we should hope to meet in November.
Okay,
Yeah.
that works for me.
Yeah.
Do we want to set a date now?
Yeah, let's look at a date. Let's look at a date.
All right.
So the election's on the 3rd, and you know, we don't know when the counting ends in California for a while. And maybe we want to plan for how about November 17th, if that
Okay.
works? That's before Thanksgiving.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah, we don't have a board meeting that day.
The
next week.
that I don't think is a good day for me, sorry.
Or the 16th, Monday. Oh, no,
I'm potentially going to be gone the 15th through the 19th.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I don't think it's a good idea to meet the week of Thanksgiving just because of people not being as much engaged and in town. We could try to meet
Friday, the 20th?
12th. What?
The 12th Friday? Or
the Friday the 13th is a day off for Veterans Day for us.
No,
No, the
20th.
20th.
the 20th,
said.
I was saying, November 20th?
Yeah, I'll be at a
or-
conference, but I can join by Zoom for sure.
Or the 12th works for me too. Do you want
Yeah.
to do that?
I can do this one.
Okay, the 12th is fine.
And we should tentatively put it because we do need to add a new board member to this
Yeah.
committee.
So
Mhm.
we'll
So-
have to see what their schedule is.
What time on the
And are
12th?
we talking about an evening meeting then?
Yeah.
Okay, so like,
Oh,
any-
shoot. I'm sorry to complicate. I have a board meeting for City College in the evening that day. I was thinking we'd do daytime, but yeah, I'm forgetting we're in summer and fall is a different schedule for us. I could do the 11th in the evening if you guys want to move to evening for the fall.
For November.
I have a thing on the 11th. Aren't we busy people?
And then the 10th, we have a board meeting.
Wait, for me on the 10th.
Um,
You want to do Monday the 9th?
We could do Monday the 9th. I'm free. We just might not know the election results fully by then. Like we may or may not. I guess we can just plan for it, and if
Yeah,
it's a
we'll
nail
see.
biter, we can just delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know, as our schedules are more known to us because we're closer to them.
yeah, I
We
can.
maybe would have a little more flexibility than we are aware of.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
for now, we'll say 6 o'clock.
Yes, yeah, my daytime flexibility will become known to me.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
November 9th at 6 o'clock is when our next meeting will be. For those of you who've been eagerly hanging on to our every word here to find out. So given that, I will now say we're adjourned.
Amazing. Let me end the